Thank you so much for joining us today for another Notary Signing Agent class from Coast to Coast. Today, we're going to discuss 5 ways to keep your client happy. So these are some attributes that are needed to be an NSA who keeps getting hired. We know this is on a lot of your minds. Interest rates are going up a little bit, and in general, the work's kind of slowed down some. There's still work out there, and there always will be. But I do think now's the time to talk about ways that not just that we can get work, but that we can keep our clients happy, because we want to be notary signing agents that keep getting calls, right? So let's delve right into it. So number 1 quality or way to keep your client happy, I'd say, is to know your stuff. So what do I mean by that? You want to be a notary signing agent that never stops educating yourself. Now, you're not expected to know every aspect of the industry, right? That's never going to happen. You're always going to be continuing to learn. However, your responsibilities should include how to relate to other players in the business and general knowledge of real estate documents, right? So you should know the purpose of basic loan documents, how to describe those loan documents, most importantly, how to complete them correctly. You should be an expert at how to complete your notarizations and really have a thorough understanding of notary regulations. So those are your general responsibilities that you need to continue to sharpen, especially the notary bit of it, right? Each state is different. So you need to know your state's notary handbook and get to know it well. Sometimes some notaries, and I know in my first commission as a notary, I probably felt this way, you learn as much as you need to pass the test. But then when you actually start working, you feel like you're a fish out of water, right? So my suggestion is get to know that handbook. Get to know what your responsibilities are, the ins and outs of it. It's going to make you a more hireable person. Clients might even come to you for advice and questions when it comes to your role as a notary. So those are your general responsibilities, and we're going to always be growing in that regard. There's so many different types of loan docs, so many different types of borrowers and situations. There's never going to be a time when you can say you know everything. But those are the skills you need to continue to, like I said, sharpen. When you work with signing companies, what a little perk is about that is that they can help train you and show you the ropes. So that may be one benefit of working with a signing company or starting your career as a notary signing agent with them, is that you have a whole team of back office admins who are there to help you. So working with signing companies, you can always ask as many questions as you can and request to see if they have any training. Coast to Coast is unique in that we have lots of training, hours and hours of it here on YouTube. But you can also ask specifically for someone to help you and be your mentor. When it comes to our company, Coast to Coast, our office manager, Hannah, and myself, Eli, Lisa, the owner, Ken, you have our numbers. Text us any questions you have. I'll help you with questions, even if the signing's not with us, right? Because we want to make sure that you keep getting as much work as you can from all the companies out there. So it's important to have that kind of resource, and you have it with Coast to Coast. So feel free to text me, my number, 909-833-5351. I probably won't pick up the phone, but if you text me, I'll be able to help you. And again, ask them questions. But when doing so, remember to be clear, concise, and professional. So I know as a signing company, we can get sometimes questions from notaries, and it's not professional. You wouldn't want to treat your title agent or escrow agent that that way, right? Or lender or loan rep or real estate agent. So remember that your client is the person that's hiring you. Whoever's hiring you, ask them questions for clarity, but be professional about it. Sometimes you might feel like, well, if I ask the question, won't I look dumb? If you ask it in a professional manner, they're going to appreciate you checking in. So make sure to ask questions. Never presume you know the answer, because you're going to get it wrong some of the time, right? So always ask those questions to get real solid confirmation. Another quick note that I talk about is beware of the gossip blogs. There are some notary signing agent blogs that are incredibly helpful. I know me and another employee, we were looking up a question on a specific document. There was a blog entry on one of the popular notary signing agent blogs, and it was so helpful. Some of it is just straight up gossip, right? And so if that's your bag, go for it. But you might miss out on some professional relationships if you listen and believe all of what you hear. There's a lot of negativity out there. There's a lot of competition. Don't let those blogs stop you from educating yourself and getting as much work as possible. We recently had a situation, notary did one job with us. She made a mistake, but the signing went fine other than that mistake. And she said, well, I'm not going to work with you anymore because I've read some stuff on blogs. And she didn't really give us a shot other than that one signing that we paid her for and all went well. You can do whatever you want to do, of course, if you're trusting what other people are saying, that's all good and fine. But just beware of limiting your work based off of a gossip blog, right? Just something to think about. You want to keep educating yourself and you want to keep getting as much work as possible. Let's go to the next one. So number 2, be an excellent communicator. Let's talk about that. So communication every step of the way, possibly over communicate. That's why I like this little picture, keep calm and over communicate. In our industry, you really can't go wrong with being very thorough. Let's talk about where this starts. So, and this is something that a lot of new notaries have brought to me recently. If you want assignments, keep your phone near you. How are clients going to reach out to you? They're going to email, they're going to text, and they're going to call. So you want to be quick to reply and quick to answer your phone calls. When you can say yes, right? You want to be an agent that says yes. That's how you're going to make this a career, and that's how you're going to keep making money. A little pro tip, if you get an automated text message about a signing, hey, there's a signing in LA County on Friday. If you have the number of the signing service or client that sent out that automated text message, give them a call. Let that phones person know, hey, just so you know, I'm available for that signing. Most likely what will happen there is the phones person will relay that to the scheduling person, and they'll be more apt to assign you to that signing. So I know a lot of agents are discouraged because they say yes to assignments and they're not getting them. You got to just keep trying. I had one agent say that she's angry at the platform. So, you know, signing platforms like SnapDocs, Notary Dash, .cloud, the list goes on. There's so many. It's not the platform's fault if you're not getting them. What is likely the reason is that there is a lot of signing agents in the area. So when you say yes, possibly like some areas have upwards of 200 agents within 10 miles, most likely someone else already accepted it, or your profile looks bare, right? And so the signing service doesn't know you. It looks like you're new, or maybe your credentials aren't there. Do you have an NNA background check? Remember, you must have that and keep it current. Do you have a certain type of insurance? Have you uploaded your notary commission? So your profile might be the reason why you're not getting jobs. And it really is, as one notary put it, a catch-22. You want jobs, but you can't get them because you haven't had many jobs. So you want to leave no gaps. Your profile needs to look great, and then continue to communicate. So say yes every step of the way. Call the signing service. If you see an order and you have a number, or look it up online, call that signing service. Hey, can you assign me to this file? You really just need your foot in the door. Once you have your foot in your door, once you've had your profile looks good, 10 or more signings, it starts looking like you've been doing jobs on that platform, you're going to get more jobs. You really want to become a signing company's favorite, and a favorite notary for us is one that is an excellent communicator. So continuing with our discussion on communication, once you've accepted a signing, communicate with the contracting company and keep them in the loop of everything that happened on that signing. So accepting the signing, you want to call the borrower right away or signer. You want to update that company all the way to dropping docs. So once the signing has been completed, add as many notes about the signing that you can. You might keep your phone with you at the signing, and as situations occur, you're writing notes. For example, if you're at the signing, borrower had to call loan officer, add that note in our website or in whatever platform's website or email, depending on who hired you. All the way to after the signing is complete, dropping documents, upload a copy of that receipt, tell the client where you dropped the docs, when they're expected to get those docs. Keeping in mind that you're hired to represent escrow or lender a lot of the time. So think of that as like you're the eyes and ears at the signing. You need to relay accurately everything that happened to them. So that's one way to continue that kind of over communication. You never want to ghost a client, right? We use that term in our channel quite a bit. Never disappear. Don't stop answering the calls. Even if you have bad news, that bad news is so much better than no news, right? So even if you're like scared, maybe you made a mistake, and you're like, I'm going to regret answering this call, answer it. You know, we can't fix things if you disappear, right? And trust me, I've done it before. Maybe I know that something uncomfortable happened at the signing and I just don't want to talk about it. Or I know I made a mistake and I just don't want to fix it. I've always regretted ghosting a client, right? And it's just not the thing to do. So pick up the phone, right? Answer that email, text. Even if you're busy, keep that client in the loop because they can easily decide, I don't want to work with this person anymore because I can't get a hold of them. So never ghost a client. Don't go MIA. Also, something to mention, never argue with the client or get an attitude, even if the client seems unreasonable or is agitated. So this is a difficult industry. Lenders, escrow, they're under tremendous pressure, just like we all are, right? We're all under pressure. Sometimes we get stuck, right? And maybe we feel like we can't let it go, or our client is seemingly unreasonable. You're trying to help, they're not willing to accept it. The worst thing you can do is take that same attitude, right? That's the worst thing that you can do, is to start to argue or get an attitude or give it right back to them. You're going to burn the bridge, right? The client is always right, even when they're not right, right? That's what we have to remember. I always mention on this channel the golden rule, right? So we want to keep in mind the golden rule. What's the golden rule? Treat other people the way you want to be treated. So when you're fired up, what do you want that person that's talking to you to do? You want them to listen. You want them to hear you out. You want them to have a little empathy. So think of that. Now, this is way easier said than done, right? I think everybody in the whole world and in all of human history will struggle to do this, but it's incredibly important, right? That's how you can continue to effectively communicate, even when the going gets tough, which will sometimes happen in this industry. And remember that how you speak to the client will leave an impression on them. And they always say it, right? This is another thing people say all the time. People don't really remember what you said, but they remember how you made them feel, right? So if the client is agitated or there's an uncomfortable situation, keep your cool, right? Think about how you communicate. Keep in mind that golden rule. And even if this conversation is uncomfortable, most of the time they'll turn around and they'll say, oh, you know what, Virginia, she ended up, it ended up being okay. She helped me out. And a lot of times clients, they'll even admit, oh, I just was having a really bad day. Thanks for listening and thanks for getting it done. And so you can turn it around by how you speak with the client, listening to them. We recently had our client, escrow, reached out to our notary directly. So instead of going through us, they went to the notary. The notary was short. The notary needed something from the client. He or she had accidentally shipped docs to the wrong place, and they needed escrow to find those docs and ship them to the right place for them. They copped a bad attitude, and then they never picked up their phone when they tried to call again. So it was one of those, our client was like, hey, I don't want you to use this notary anymore. They yelled at me when I tried to help them, and then they didn't answer when I, found a way to resolve it. So keep that in mind, right? We want to keep this principle of effective communication over communication, because that's how you can not just get one job, but get all the jobs, right? Which is what we need if we're going to make money in this industry. Okay, next up, this is one of my favorites, take accountability. What does that mean? Well, remember that it's not about the mistake or issue, it's about how you fix it, how you deal with it. Every notary signing agent is going to make a mistake or an error or even just an incorrect judgment call, right? Even the very best ones. When you realize your mistake, right away inform the client signer and make a game plan of how to fix it. You don't need to grovel. Just a simple apology and I'm going to make it right will do. The worst thing you can do is hassle, argue, or refuse to fix your error or make it right. That's the worst thing you can do. A company cannot work with a notary who argues about mistakes or refuses to fix their mistake. There are going to be times when possibly your circumstance aren't going to allow you to fix it, but what's your attitude? Are you willing to think outside the box? Are you willing to help in whatever way you can? Let's give you an example, just off the top of my head. Say you missed a document that needed to be signed and notarized or signed by the borrower, but you went on vacation. And so you can't help fix it. You can't physically be the one, but can you call the borrower? Can you explain the situation, right? Can you communicate with the company, your client that's bringing this to your attention? Think about those kind of items. If you're disputing an error, what if you don't think the error is your fault? And sometimes that happens, right? Maybe escrow forgot to include a form in the set, but they were sure they did. What you want to do is ask clarifying questions and communicate professionally. If you just simply say, that's not my responsibility, you're going to lose a partner. Because if our client is bringing it to you, most likely they're assuming that it is your responsibility, right? So communicate professionally and then ask clarity questions. So let's use that example of a document didn't come back in the set of loan documents. So escrow comes to us, say you're working with a signing company. Escrow comes to us and says the W-9 was not returned with the signed set of documents. You look and you see you were never sent a W-9. You should tell the company that's coming to you, I've reviewed the documents. It appears that I wasn't sent a W-9. Please advise. That's as simple as you can say. And that way it then prompts everyone else, oh, let's look into that real quick. Ultimately, you might need to still go back out, but maybe you'll go back with a fee. So it's not an error, it's just a miscellaneous or trailing document situation. But ask questions to clarify and communicate professionally. Another thing that I would advise against is being on the defense and always assuming your client is wrong and not you. Because much of the time, there is a legitimate error on your part, or the client's going to identify that as a notary signing agent error. But if you're always on that's not my fault, that's not my fault, that's just not how partners work, right? You should make the focus on resolution and not about placing blame, because it's an error. If it's an error, it needs to get handled. The best notary signing agents, the best signing services are the ones that they don't place blame, they just get it done, right? Talking about refusing to fix your error, just a heads up, this may result in a fee deduction on your part. So, for example, if you missed a form or you made a mistake on a form. Maybe you stamped the note when there's no notarization on that form, which will require that form to be re-signed. If you're like, I'm too busy, I can't fix it, find someone else, the client's not going to pay another trip to get that fixed, right? So that means that that second notary fee's got to come from somewhere. And most likely it's your fee if you're refusing to fix things. So again, think outside the box. Don't be too strict or narrow-minded. Is there a way that you can fix it? So maybe you do have a busy day, but can you fit in the signer between two signings? Or what about when your signings are done? Can you swing by at night to get that one signature? Can you call the borrower, email the form to them if it doesn't have a notarization, have them sign it, and then you pick it up and drop it off? So if you need help thinking outside the box, when you work with a signing company, we can help you. That's what us managers have to do all day long, troubleshooting and things like that. So sometimes that thinking out of the box when you're new, you're like, I don't even know how to do that, right? That's why working with a signing company can be beneficial, because we have that experience. We're going to help you to do that. But why our company has work is because we never say no. And I think that that's a good principle for all signing agents to learn. If you never say no, you're going to keep getting these calls, right? The yes men always have a lot of work. It can be hard to be a yes guy, but you're going to keep busy and you're going to be making that money, which isn't it what it's all about, right? So we can support ourselves and our families and maybe have a little fun on the side. So keep that in mind. Take accountability for mistakes, think outside the box, ask and communicate for help if you need some assistance in doing that. All right, next up, learn to troubleshoot. It goes right into what we were just talking about. There is always a way. So before giving up or saying no or asking to be taken off a job or reassigned, can you make it work? And if you don't know how to make it work, ask for help. You do not want to give up. So if presented with a problem, you want to be ready to have a solution to that problem. This is something that can be difficult. And sometimes when we have a problem, we don't want to be the ones to come up with a solution, right? Or maybe we're blinded by that problem, so we almost don't see a solution. Take advantage of other people's experiences. So once again, this all ties together, right? Back to number one, never stop learning. Watch our videos, communicate with other signing agents. If you work with a signing company, make friends with them so you can ask them, right? And take advantage of any training out there that's free. If you've paid for training, a lot of that training includes like mentorships. Take advantage of that. I love this picture. I love Tim Gunn and Project Runway. What does Tim Gunn always say? Make it work, right? You have a situation that you think, man, I don't know how I'm going to get out of that. In order to be successful, you're going to have to figure out a way to make it work. So the basic principles, ask for help. Don't be quick to give up, and take advantage of other people's experiences. Why I love our channel is that we're pretty honest with mistakes, right? If you've watched any of our videos, you'll hear I talk about my own mistakes all the time. And we talk about maybe judgment call errors and mistakes on other agents' behalf, things that they've gone through. Take those principles of how to make it work and try to apply them to your circumstances. Unfortunately, there's not an exact calculation, right? There's not always the perfect solution every time. But those principles of customer service, communication, attitude, that's going to help you. So keep in mind, in our industry, there is always a way. Before you give up, can you make it work? And that's where you need resources. Signing companies are a great place to start, get your feet wet, get that experience. But good escrow agents, they'll help us too, right? So communication is big. Again, that goes back to our second slide. Okay, and number 5, make the client shine. This is a kind of cheesy saying that Lisa, the owner, has been saying since I was a little girl. Your job is to make your client shine. When you do that, it makes you shine. So as a notary signing agent, often we are hired to represent another company, whether it's a signing agency, escrow, title company, or lender, sometimes all three. You are their representative, and usually the only person that signers have met in person. So it means you really have to put the client's interest above your own. As a representative of that company, you have to look for their interests to do the job well. This is going to sometimes come at an immediate cost to you, right? It might mean you work longer than you expected. It might mean you hand-delivered documents when you didn't know you were going to. It might mean you're going to take a little bit more time on the signing, or maybe you have to scan the documents after. But think of all of those little extra things you did as an investment in the relationship and the partnership, because that's what they are, right? So if it makes the client look good, it makes you look good, right? And that's what you want to keep in mind. You want to think about perfecting your customer service skills as best as we can. And we're going to all fail at this from time to time, right? Maybe it's just a bad day and we're off our game, or we are newer and we didn't know, oh, I think I put my foot in my mouth. I think that I overstepped. Learn from those experiences. Don't give up, but keep thinking about how you can make your customer service skills better. There's so many neat articles online about how you do that. And we have quite a few videos. If you look up how to be a favorite, that kind of showcase that video, a lot of those qualities and how you can, and I give you tips on how you can apply those. But being polite, professional, personable, these are all traits that make you shine. And when you apply them to your clients, make your client shine. Another note is that when possible, say yes. So sometimes it's not always possible, but we're kind of the company, as I mentioned, that we never say no. So can you scan back docs? Yes. I want you to say yes if you can. Can you hand deliver if it's local? Do it. Say yes. Can you meet the signer at another location because the signing actually needs to take place 10 minutes south? Yes. Is your fee negotiable? Now, I'm not going to say always say yes to this because sometimes you don't really want to lose money. But what if it's a situation where the client's like, hey, we only have $100 in this budget, but we need the doc scanned back. Maybe your normal fee, you charge a little bit more, but are you willing to be negotiable to help the client? Say yes. These are just our suggestions. Our big suggestion when it comes to partnerships is you want to focus on them, focus on the people, on the partnerships, and the money is going to follow. So that's how we do business at Coast to Coast, and it has led to success on our end. Everybody's strategies are different, but that's what's helped for us. So instead of nickel and diming or thinking only about the money, we think about how can we make this job successful? How can we make the client happy? When you do that, you're going to get paid, right? They're going to keep you in mind for the next signing, and the money's going to follow. So thinking about making your client shine, it makes you shine. When both of those things happen, you're going to keep getting calls. We want your customer service reviews to be excellent, right? So a little note, if you didn't know it already, when you do a job with Coast to Coast and the signer has an email attached to their order, at the end of the process, they get sent a survey. And so we see every day lots of different customer service reviews on our agents. So if you're curious, if you've done some work with Coast to Coast or on the SnapDocs portal, you can always ask the company, hey, can you send me some of my reviews? That's going to help you see if there's anything that you need to tighten up. I know with me, I've seen a few reviews. Back in my early days of my career, being late was an issue for me. And seeing those reviews kind of hurt a little bit, right? But it allowed me to make some adjustments. I said, oh, okay, maybe I'm taking too many signings, or I'm not planning right. Okay, and then you can change it, right? So if you're aware of it. So ask the client. If you ever have done work for Coast to Coast and you want to ask us, you can email Virginia at c2csignings.com, and I'll send you what we have on you.